Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and thanks for joining us for today's event, part of our Fall 2015 CRM webcast series. Today we're joined by Stacy Mancuso. She's a Microsoft certified CRM professional and a veteran trainer and project manager. She's also an application specialist at WebSand Solutions. Stacy is a first-time presenter for us, so I'm happy to welcome her today to talk about CRM 2015 right out of the box. I also want to recognize our CRM event series sponsor, Scribe Software, and thank them for their support. And to get this session started, please know that we do invite you in the audience to add your feedback and ask questions today during our presentation. You can use the Q&A panel that you should see to the right of the presentation window to ask your questions. We'll be leaving time at the end to get those answered by Stacy. So without further delay, Stacy, let me hand it off to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jason. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining me from. I do want to just thank you for joining me for today's session, Maximize Dynamics CRM right out of the box. A little bit about me. Again, my name is Stacy Mancuso, and I'm a CRM Certified Application Specialist with WebSand Solutions. WebSand is a Microsoft Dynamics Certified Partner, and we are located in Toronto, Canada. And we specialize in IT consulting, offering hosted solutions for Dynamics GP, CRM, and RMS. So let's get underway here. So, one size really just does not fit all, but that is the beauty of Dynamics CRM. So in this session, we are going to discuss this expansive solution that's, again, delivered right out of the box, and just explore how you can mold, manipulate, and build upon it to meet the requirements of your organization. So in this session, I really want to just challenge you to really think outside the box. Take the features and functionalities that you have at your disposal, but again, just mold and manipulate them, without incorporating any type of development. Just see what you can do right out of the box. So specifically what we're going to cover. We're going to start off here with dashboards. And dashboards you can use to structure and monitor valuable metrics and highlight trends through the incorporation of views and charts. Next, we're going to go and discuss the collection of data, looking at the various options for exporting from Dynamics CRM to Microsoft Excel. From there, we're going to go over and we're going to start discussing business rules and business processes, which allow you to streamline data entry for your end users. And then we're going to end with workflows, which I like to think of as your personal assistant or your business's personal assistant. So at that, we are going to jump right into our demo environment. So let me just change my screen here. And you all should be now seeing my dashboard. So your dashboard is where you're going to be managing and communicating your business data. You'll see here again, this is your dashboard. When you click on the drop-down, you will see that you have many dashboards to choose from. And you can switch these dashboards based on what your focus needs to be. I like to think of my dashboard as my home base, a place to check in throughout the day, just really keeping myself on task. So you'll see that dashboards are comprised of charts and grids, also known as views. And these are just a visual depiction of your data. You can also add iframes, which would be an access to external sites, and also web resources, which are images, HTML pages, and script files, which are programmatically called. So I haven't included the iframes and web resources on my dashboard because those will not actually be covered in today's session. But I just wanted to make you aware that those are things that you could add. So let's get to looking here at our dashboard. So I just want to kind of take a quick peek at the layout and the different components that you have here. And I kind of like to call this dashboard envy, seeing ideas of what other people have and then get your creative juices flowing. So we're going to start off here on our WebSand Sales Overview dashboard, and we have our always infamous sales pipeline. So I just want to describe to you what you have here. You have a few different options in your charts. Here is your refresh button. So once you click on this, you can manually refresh this chart with any new data that has come into the system. The center icon here, this is a grid, and this allows you to drill down into the data that makes up this chart or this pipeline. So let's just click on that just to kind of get an idea of what that looks like. Okay, and then seems that it does not want to be responsive for me today. So I'll just keep talking through this. So once we clicked on this, it would have opened up a view similar to this, where you can actually see the data that makes up that chart. And then off here on the far right, when you click on that, that is going to actually enlarge the graphic. So it puts it front and center, allowing you just to kind of, push everything else out of the way and just really put your focus on that graphic. Next over here, we have our leads by rating. And then over here, this is actually a grid. So this is a view of our open leads. I can click on any of these and drill down into that data to see that specific record. So I clicked on that record, and now it has opened up for us over here. So let's just go back to our dashboard here. Okay, so next up down here, we'll just scroll down a little bit further. Again, we have another grid, and then lastly, we have another graphic here of our top 10 opportunities. So this one actually had a top 10 rule applied to it. So this is basically just showing me the estimated revenue for the top 10 grossing opportunities that we have in our pipeline right now. So I'd like to click over and show you another dashboard that I have created here. Well, I apologize. For some reason, my dashboard is not being very cooperative this morning, and it does not want to respond and click down there. So I'll just tell you, if we click down on here, you're probably well aware that it would display various other dashboards for us. And so what I want to suggest that you do is, to get some other ideas, look at some of those out-of-the-box dashboards that come with Dynamics CRM. You can take those and you can mold and manipulate them to fit your needs instead of starting completely from scratch. And I kind of like to do that throughout the system with my views and my charts and my dashboards, not always starting from scratch, but using some of the out-of-the-box functionality or some of the other ones that I've already created and just kind of do a save as over them so that, again, I'm not always starting from scratch. So now that we've looked at some of these components in action, I want to start breaking down the construction of views, charts, and dashboards. So to do that, we're going to have to come into our settings, and we'll go into our customization area. So let's just quickly discuss what views are. They allow you to dig into data and filter data, and then save that filter as a view. And then when the view is refreshed real time, the records that meet that defined criteria will be displayed for you. And then again, what are charts? Charts are basically just a graphical depiction of the data that is shown in your views. So we're going to go back and we're going to start discussing the breakdown of views, charts, and dashboards. So we are actually going to go and start creating a view with a corresponding chart that depicts customer satisfaction. So we're going to come here and we are going to go to our account entity and go to our views. As I mentioned, I always try and just use something as a template so that I don't have to start completely from scratch. So we're going to come here to our view and we're going to actually use our active accounts view as our template. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to open my active accounts. And then I'm just going to do a quick save as. And the reason I'm doing this is it's going to keep all of those columns for me so that I do not have to recreate all of this completely from scratch, as I mentioned. All right, so we'll create our new view here, and we'll name that customer satisfaction for our view, and it'll just take a moment here to load and switch for me. All right, so now you see we have our new view, customer satisfaction. We've already got a bunch of our column headings already here for us, being I used the active accounts as my template. So now I just want to add another column. So I want to add the column for customer satisfaction so that we can see that when we look at our view. So I'll simply select it and click on OK. As you may or may not know, you can actually take these columns and you can move them around. So from here, I can use these arrows to move things left and right. So I want to move my customer satisfaction much farther over to the left there. And I'm actually going to put it to the right of the account name. And then you can either double click on that column or you can click on change properties if you want to make that a little bit wider. And I do because I can't really read it. So I'm going to make that 150 pixels. And now we can actually see that column heading right there for us. So because I want to actually only gauge specific information for this view, I'm going to come here and I would click on Edit Filter Criteria. And from here, I can choose what I want to filter on. So I want to actually look for accounts that only have information depicted in that customer satisfaction field. So as long as customer satisfaction contains data, I would like to see it. And the other filter I would like to add is I really want there to be annual revenue presented. So if the account has some annual revenue associated with it, then I would actually like it to be depicted as well. So for this one, I'm going to say it's greater than $0. And let me just open that up a little bit so I can see my Save button or my OK button. And so now we have our view built, and I'm going to click on Save and Close. So now we're going to build out our corresponding chart. So come here to your charts. And I'm actually just going to build out the chart from scratch because charts are pretty simple to build out here. So you come here to your chart. And you'll notice up here that you have view used for chart preview. So when you build out a chart, you can use any of your views just to give you a better idea of what you're building out, but it is no way tied to the chart. So they can work, they don't have to work together. So you can choose any chart you want or any view you want and then just kind of mix and match that data to depict the information in different ways. So I'm actually just going to use our new chart that I created, or our new view, our customer satisfaction view. And then you're going to come down here and you're going to choose your vertical and horizontal accesses. So for our first one up here, this is our legend. That's going to be our vertical. We're going to go with our annual revenue. And I want to have the sum of that. So that will display here. For my horizontal axis, I actually want to choose the customer satisfaction, and then I also want to show, by clicking on Add Category, I can add another field here. So I also want it to be depicted by owner. So you'll notice here that this is building out my chart. Again, as I mentioned, I can switch which view this is using. So if I come up here and I only do like my active accounts, you're going to see it's going to look grossly different. So before I save, you'll notice that based on the vertical and horizontal axes that I chose, it already added a name in here for me. I can change this should I want to. So simply just roll on over it, and then you can just rename it should you choose to make it a unique name that makes sense for you and your organization. So we'll click on Save and Close. And now that is actually going to take us to dashboards. So as you begin building out your dashboards for your organization, there's a few things, and I'm sorry if I make you dizzy, if I'm scrolling way too fast. We just need to come down to the bottom here to dashboards. So again, as you begin building your dashboards for your organization, a couple of things that you might want to consider. You know, what are your organizational needs? The dashboards you're building, are they relevant for everybody, or are they only relevant for some people? So with that in mind, you would want to narrow down your dashboard visibility for specific users. And you can do that with security roles. So let me just click here on dashboards. And if you're not familiar with how to use security roles, this would be a fabulous time to learn. With security roles, you can just really, again, trim down and just determine who has access to what, so that, if there's some information that's, more highly confidential, then you don't want that displayed to every user in your database. So here, I'm just going to randomly choose one. We're going to come here to our performance dashboard. I'll select it, and then I can come up here to click on Enable Security Roles. And if I only want it displayed to certain individuals, I can come here and I'll have to uncheck all of these. So display only to these selected user roles. So I can come in here, and I just want it to be for my sales managers. So I would simply click on OK, and then once I do that, only my sales managers would be able to see this dashboard when they log in. Similarly, as a customizer or an admin, you can also set the default dashboard for your users. I would suggest maybe one that shows overall metrics coupled with maybe some user-specific views such as my accounts, my activities, and so on. And to do that, again, you just select the dashboard, and then you click on Set as Default. And so this will be the default dashboard assigned to all of your users. So with all of that said, let's just quickly create a dashboard of our own. So we're going to come over here and we will do a new dashboard, and you will be presented with a variety of templates to choose from. Do know that you can have up to 6 components per dashboard. So I'm just going to click on one of these and we'll select it. And I'm just going to kind of build one out quickly just because we have a lot to cover in today's session. So as this comes up, you're just going to type in a unique name. So from here, you can choose what component you want to add to each of these different sections. As you see, you can hover and you can choose them directly from within here, or you can select the component and then you can choose from up here which one you want to add, whether it be a chart, a list, a web resource, or an iframe. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to quickly just choose a few different things to add in here for us, just to give you an idea of how you do it. So you'll come in here, you'll choose which record you want to use. We're just going to stick with the account. We'll say, all active accounts, and we'll just leave that as account by industry. For this one, I'm actually going to do a grid view, and I want it to do activities for this one. And I'm going to stick with my activities. So the benefit to doing my activities, again, is it serves as a personal to-do list for your users, allowing them to see upcoming appointments, tasks, and then the other activities associated with your user. So again, you just continue on adding whatever else might be relevant. So we'll just choose a couple of different things here just to keep this moving. And then we'll pop maybe another chart in here. We'll do our new customer satisfaction chart that we just made. So once you have your chart, once you have your dashboard built out and you have your components in there, you can move them around should you want to. So say I actually wanted this customer satisfaction chart up here. As you'll see, these 4 little arrows pop up. If I click on it, I can drag it and I can move it up, and you'll see a red line up here. That's going to tell me where I'm dropping it. So if I drop it there, you're going to see now that my chart has moved up there. And again, similarly, you could do that with any of these different component sections, just kind of move them around to make it visually pleasing for you and your users. Another thing you can do prior to coming out of here is these ellipses right here. If you click on the ellipses, you can actually increase and decrease the width or increase and decrease the height of your components. So let me just choose one here. Let's select this chart one, and we're going to go back to the ellipses and say I want to make this a bit wider. If I click on increase width, you'll see it's moved it over, but it's actually shoved down this other item down here. So, and then you can also increase the height of it. Just, whatever you want to be visually pleasing is what you're going to go with there. So that kind of wraps up dashboards for us. So I'm just going to actually save this guy and close out of it. So now that's actually going to take us into integrating CRM and Excel, which if you don't know this, it allows you to share, analyze, and manipulate data. So we're going to come here and hopefully it cooperates, and it has so far. So we're going to come over here and we are going to go to an opportunity view so we can start looking at exporting to Excel. So when you come to one of your views and choose any view that you want to export data from, you'll see up here in your command area, export to Excel. If you don't see it for some reason, simply click on the ellipses and it might be displayed here as a drop-down option in that menu. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on Export to Excel, and you're going to see a little window pop up here for us. A couple of things that it's going to apply to any of these choices that we make. So for exports, any data that is exported will be shown in the same format that you see in your view. So text will remain as text, numbers will remain as numbers, and a date will remain as a date. Something, though, to keep in mind as a little caveat is the cell format in Excel may change some of your formatting types. So just be really aware of that and update those affected rows as necessary. And just to kind of make it a little bit more real world so you understand what I mean, a currency value that you export out of CRM will likely show up as just a plain old number in Excel. So you'll want to change that once it exports. And then just one other thing that applies to all of your exports, it's just recommended that you save your file prior to opening it, and then be cognizant of where that file saves to, because I'll be honest with you, I am notorious for saving it and really not paying attention to the default that it's gone to, and then endlessly having to look for it. So just really focus and pay attention to where you've saved that file to. So let's jump in here now, start discussing some of the different options you have for exporting. We start off here with our Excel static worksheet. So with this, what you export is what you get. Why would you use it? You want to share the file with a non-CRM user, or you want to share the file with a CRM user that doesn't otherwise have privileges to this data in CRM. You might be exporting data that doesn't really change very frequently, or you need to modify a mass number of records at once. So doing it as an export and then re-importing it back in is a major time-saving approach. Quick thing before you export, if you need to make any modifications to the columns displayed, you can either adjust the view or just perform an advanced find and do the export from that advanced find view. So here as you begin, you'll see you have an option to static records from this current page or from all pages in the view. As you see here, I have 25 of 27 records, which means it's going to cover 2 pages. So if I want both of those pages exported, then I'm going to need to check the second option here. And then you also have this option here to make this available for re-importing. So I'm going to just quickly click on Export. And again, as I mentioned, you want to do a Save As. And we're going to pop that on my desktop. And I'm just going to name this accordingly to make it a little bit easier to find. One quick thing I did want to mention to you here is that secured fields, calculated fields, and composite fields can, although they can be modified in Excel, they cannot be re-imported. So just keep that in mind that once they come in here, you cannot bring them back into the system, but you could modify them here should you want to. So I just wanted to quickly point out here, as I mentioned, this estimated revenue, that should be a currency. And as you see here now, when I click in here and I look up here, it shows it's a number. So you would simply want to come in here and just change that entire column to a currency value. So let's just exit out of here and come back to our opportunities, and let's just look at the next item we have here, which is exporting as a dynamic worksheet. So a dynamic worksheet, that will be data that dynamically updates based upon changes that are occurring within the CRM. So why would you use it? You always want the most current up-to-date data shown each time that file is refreshed. Do you want to point out the difference here between the dynamic worksheet and the static? Being the data is being pulled directly from CRM constantly, being it's being refreshed, the recipient of this file must be a CRM user, and then second to that, the CRM for Outlook client must be installed on your user's machine. And then also, the data that the recipient is privy to is only what they can see in CRM. So here we're going to choose Dynamic Worksheet, and once you do that, you can choose which columns you want to include. I'm just going to keep what we have here in the essence of time and click on Export. And then again, we'll just quickly do a Save As, and then we will open this file. Comes in here to Excel. And then I'll show you how you can quickly open that. And I'm just going to tell you here, it gets a little crazy because there's a lot of security that wants to block you from being able to open this. So you just kind of have to click through all of those as you go. And then you'll come up here to your data, and you're going to click on Refresh from CRM. And you'll see the little refresh button in there, in the little green. And so now you see this is the data that is pulling directly from Dynamics CRM. Say like in 30 minutes or so, I know that my users have been in there and they've been working around. I'll simply click on refresh from CRM, and I'll see the most up-to-date current information. So back to CRM we go. The last one we're going to look at here is the dynamic, the Excel pivot table. So again, this is similar to the dynamic worksheet with just the benefit of being able to use an Excel pivot table. So why would you use it? Pretty much the same reasons you want to use that dynamic worksheet. You always want the most current up-to-date information. Again, the recipient must be a CRM user and have the CRM Outlook client installed, and the recipient will only be privy to the data that they have permission for in CRM. The bonus being, though, that you get to see patterns and trends in your data by using a pivot table in Excel. So you'll choose Dynamic Pivot Table, click on Next, And all of the things that were in the columns, those will be checked off here. You can choose any additional fields that you want and then click on Export. And again, quickly save as, and I'll just name this Pivot so I open the right one. So once you open this one, you're going to do as you do with a pivot table, and you can start dragging and dropping values to see the data depicted in various ways. So over here, and I'm just randomly doing this, so please no judgment about how this will end up looking. So I'm just going to start dragging and dropping some values. So that's just the benefit of a pivot table is you can, you can just kind of see some different patterns and trends in your data. And then similar to the dynamic worksheet, you can come up here to data and click on refresh from CRM at any time to have the most current up-to-date information displayed here for you. So we're going to leave this now, and we are going to jump in now to business rules and business processes, which promote data integrity. So business rules, if you're not familiar with them, it's a really simple yet powerful tool that, quite frankly, I've come to know and love. It allows you to add form design functions without any need for programming knowledge, and essentially what it does is it controls the behavior of different fields. So I actually wanted to show you one in action just so you can have a better idea of what business rules can do for you. So here from our opportunity, we're going to come up here and we're going to go to New. And the one I'm going to show you here is a field that will display or not display based on the behavior of another field. So as we open up here, you're going to see this field that says training required. And currently it says no. If I switch this and I make it yes, you're going to see now this training venue field has appeared for me. When I click on the drop-down, I can choose what my training venue is. Similarly, if I click on make it back no, you'll notice that that field has now disappeared. So that's just one quick example of how a business rule might work. So with that said, I want to quickly show you how to create a couple of different business rules. Let's see here if I'm still in my settings area, and I am. So I'm going to switch over there. So there's a few different places you can access business rules from. First of all, when you're in the customizations and you're on a form for an entity, you can, within the ribbon of your form, you will see business rules, so you can create one from there. You can also do it directly from the properties of a field when you're on a form. And then lastly, you can do it from the customizations area, which is where we are now, in the business rule node for that specific entity. So I'm going to come down here to my opportunity, and I'm going to click on business rules, because that's where we are going to create our business rules from today. And when I click here and this opens, you are going to notice that the one business rule I already created is shown for me. So I'm just going to create a new one here for us. So what you're doing when you create your business rules is, first of all, you're going to define the fields that you're monitoring for and then their values that you're looking at. And then from there, you're going to choose some definitive actions that you want to have occur based on those conditions being met. And here you can see these are the different actions that you can choose from. So I'm just going to quickly build one out here for us, and then I'm going to explain to you how it works. So you're going to choose your conditions. Oh, I'm sorry. And first of all, I got to start off here by putting a name. So this one's actually going to define what the discount is for an opportunity based on the estimated revenue. So let me just quickly name this for us. We're just going to name it set discount amount. Okay, so now let me define my conditions. So I define my first condition here. So if my estimated revenue is greater than or equal to $25,000, I'm going to set my discount percentage to 3%. And then I need to say what's going to happen if that condition is not met. And this is a responsive design. I'm not sure if you know that, but if you start typing in EST, it's going to pop up that field for me. So essentially what I've said here is if my estimated revenue is greater than or equal to $25,000, set that opportunity discount to 3%. If the opportunity revenue is less than $25,000, then set that opportunity discount to 0. So I'm going to click on Save. And then I'm going to want to activate this. And you don't have to activate them right off the bat. You can keep them in a save state until you're ready to activate them for your users. But I actually want to show this one and the next one I'm going to create an action, just because, again, like I said, I think these are really super cool. So we're going to come up here and we're actually going to create another one, but we're actually going to do this one on our account record. So again, come to your business rules. So for this one, this action is actually going to be coupling two different actions together. We're going to be monitoring for a specific field value and then taking specific actions if that field value is met. So for this one, we're just going to name it Monitor Relationship. So again, I'm just going to build this out and then I'll explain to you in a little bit more detail what it's doing. And again, it's a responsive design, so I can start typing in the field name. So what I've said here so far is if my relationship type equals customer, I want an error message or a message. It's not really an error, but it's the message that will pop up on the screen for your user that will say the account number is required for customers. And then I'm also going to want to make that account number field business required. So now I actually have to do the converse of that. And I'm going to explain to you right after I build this why I have to make the converse of it. And to keep it simple, I'm going to say if relationship type does not equal customer. And I actually want to now say I don't want the account number to be business required. So let me just explain to you why I have to do the converse action. I have found that with business rules, if your user has come in initially and made this field, set the relationship field to customer, it's obviously going to make this account number field required. If they subsequently go back and they want to change this to a different relationship type, it has already locked the account number field in as business required. So essentially by doing this bottom piece, it's basically unlocking it to make it not business required any longer. So let's save that, activate it, and then I'm going to quickly publish this, and that way I can show you these two guys in action. So we'll just wait for that to publish, and then as soon as I see that it has, I will switch back over to my user interface so that we can see these two in action, just to kind of give you a front row seat to how they worked. All right, so let's get into our user interface here. We'll start off with our opportunity one first, so let me just come over here and let's hop back out of that one and let's do a new one here quickly. And so we're going to look at an estimated revenue of $25,000. If I tab out of it and I scroll down, let's see here. You might want me to type in a topic here. Oops, and I put it in the wrong field. That probably didn't help anything, huh? All right, so now we got it, $25,000. So as you scroll down here, you will see that our discount percentage has now been set to 3%. Now if I change this, being I said if it's less than that $25,000, let's just test this out and make it just a tad less, $24,999. So what should happen? It should be 0%, and it is. So perfect. So now let's just come in here quickly, and we'll come to our account, and we will create a new one. And in my relationship type, I'm just going to simply select customer. So when I do that now, it's going to say account number is required for customers. And you'll notice now that account number has a red asterisk next to it, indicating that it is a business required field. So now if we change it to partner, for instance, the error message went away, and now you see account number is back to just being an optional field. So that now takes us into business process flows. If you are not familiar with business process flows, you are simply not alone. It's a very often overlooked feature, but it offers so much potential and so much worth. So let's just jump in here quickly to an opportunity so you can just get an idea of what a business process flow is if you're not familiar. So up here, this section up here, this is considered the business process flow area, and you can expand and contract it as needed. So if I click on here, it's going to actually close that down, and you'll just see the stages along the top. And if you double click, it will open that back up for you. So what purpose do business process flows serve? They promote consistency. They are a visual representation of a record stage. They present milestones within each stage. And then as you see here, some of these fields are marked as business required, which will prevent a user from advancing their stages. So speaking of advancing, the flag up here, that is going to represent the stage that you're working through. And then the color bar, so if I click over here, I'm going to make this bar colored now. That's going to represent the stage that I have navigated to. But upon successful completion of a stage, you can advance this flag by clicking on next stage. So I'm actually going to get an error message because I haven't filled in these fields. So let's click on next stage, and you're going to see it's telling me that I cannot advance that flag until I have completed those required fields. So let's just go back in here and let's try and create one quickly of our own. And let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's going to let me work around in here. So you're going to come to settings, and you're going to navigate, depending on how yours is set up. Mine's at the very end. So I'm just going to come and go to processes. Again, like everything else, the views and the dashboards, you can totally do one of these, doing as a save as over another business process flow, or just modifying it. I'm sorry, not a save as. You can take an existing business process flow and modify it to suit your needs. I'm actually going to create one completely from scratch, though, just because I think it's far easier to kind of break it down and see it in this scenario. So I'm going to come up here and do new. And then you're simply going to name it, and I'm just going to name this quickly something. And for your category, you're going to do a business process flow. And then here you have to choose your starting entity. Do know that once you choose your starting entity and you start creating it, you cannot go back and modify what your starting entity is. Should that occur where you need to change it, you will simply have to go back and just create a brand new business process flow. So again, just kind of think through what you're doing prior to creating it, and then you should not have any issue. So we're going to start off here on our lead. And then from here, you can actually add any additional entities that you want to exist in this business process flow. So I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to click on Insert Stage because I want to add another entity to correlate here with my business process flow. You'll notice that when I click here, only entities which have a relationship with my lead are going to be displayed. So I'm actually going to go from a lead to an opportunity. So let's just start breaking down what we have here. So your stage name, that's going to be the value displayed and the user interface for that stage. So I'm just going to quickly name each of these. And there's a reason I'm doing these in tandem. It's going to help kind of break down this process for us. So come down here, and we're going to see stage category. When you click on that, you can select from values which have been defined for your organization's global option set. As you see, you have qualify, develop, propose, and so on. A lot of users or a lot of admins, they tend to name their stage name the same as their stage category. They're going to vary somewhat as we go along here, but do know that that's very common where these are named exactly the same. Next, we're going to come over here to step name. So again, this is going to be the step displayed for each stage in the user interface. And I'm actually not going to quite fill this in yet because we're going to jump over here to value. When I click on the value button, that's actually going to display all the fields that are related to this entity. So all fields related to the lead entity. And you're going to notice that when I choose a field, it's actually going to name my step name, and that's why I actually didn't complete it yet for you. But as you see here, you can come in here and you can actually modify what that value says. So again, this step name is just going to be the step displayed for your user within the interface. If you want to add another step or another value, you simply click on the plus sign and you can select it from here. And again, this is a responsive design, so if you know the name of the field, you can start typing in the first few letters and then it will display for you. So I'm just going to come down here quickly and I'm going to add a couple now for our opportunity. And again, click on the plus sign to access more. All right, so you come over here, and as I mentioned when we were looking at it in the interfaces, you can set some of these fields as business required. And this is actually just going to, again, ensure that those fields get completed before the stage can be advanced by your users. So we're just going to make all of these required for them. So now that leads us into branching. So you'll see here you have the option to add a branch, which again is kind of a newish functionality in for business process flows in CRM. So a branching will allow you to kind of play out different scenarios. So we're going to put a branch in here after the lead because I have this purchase time frame field that I was capturing up here, and I want to actually decide if this purchase time frame is immediate. I want something to happen. So if the purchase time frame is immediate, I want to insert a stage and I want to actually escalate. So that's the name of my stage, is escalate. And again, I'm going to just keep this, being it's in the lead entity, I'm just going to keep it as the qualify category. And then you're just going to define what field that you are wanting to capture. So I'm just going to choose the budget field here, make that required. Once you do that, you're just going to want to merge these back together. So you're going to want to click on Insert Stage After Branch, and you'll notice when I scroll down here now, and that's why I wanted to create the opportunity one previously, because I wanted to show you how it pops it in there between there. And I figured it would make it easier to differentiate this way. So again, you're just going to come in here, and you're going to add a stage name. We're going to name it Inquiry. And then choose the entity it relates to. I want to actually move this and divert it back to the opportunity record. And then for the stage category, we will make it develop. And I actually didn't define that one previously. And again, you're just going to choose a field here that you're wanting to capture at this point, excuse me. And again, I'll just make that required as well. So when you have that branching logic in here, you're going to notice that this select relationship comes up. You'll simply click on that, and you're just going to define the relationship that exists between the entities that are coming before and after that branch. So we're just going to quickly, as you see, you only have one option here. So once you have that built out, you'll simply come up, you'll save it, and then when you're ready to activate it, you would simply click on Activate, and that would make it available to all of your users within the CRM. Quick point here, if you have more than one business process flow built for entities, if you click on Order Process Flow, you will see them listed here, and you can decide which one is going to be the default. So if I want to take the one I just created and move it up, this will be the default business process flow displayed for my users. There will be a drop-down, and they could change business process flows should the need arise. And similarly, you can actually also associate a security role with this specific business, with this business process flow. So that way, if it only is pertinent to some users, you can define which security role should have access to this. So this is going to quickly transition us into workflows, which again, those are going to automate your business processes, and this is going to be in a much more powerful and robust way than what we saw with our business rules. In case you're not completely familiar with workflows or haven't worked with them much, I'm just going to be completely blatantly honest and tell you that they can be a real beast. Even the most experienced users, I feel like, would contest to the fact that they really require trial and error to come away with the desired outcome that you want. A couple of reasons why you might utilize a workflow is you want to be presented with reminders for your users. You want to alert when a status is changed. You want to create, update, or assign records based on the activity of another record, for instance. Workflows can be initiated in a variety of ways, and we'll quickly run through this, but they can be run in the background, they can be run in real time, or they can be an on-demand process. I quickly want to show you one that you can do that's an on-demand process. And we're going to come here to our contacts. As many of you, I'm sure, are familiar, when you have an account and you create a contact directly from that account, a lot of the address information, for instance, will carry over to your contact record. What I hear a lot from my clients is they'll have an account and they'll have a contact and the addresses match, but then the company moves. And so you change the account address, but then the contact address will not change with it. So that is the on-demand workflow that I've created for us today. So I'm just going to sort these so you can see. James Financial, we have 3 users here, and they all have an address of 123 Lobos Street. Let's quickly go to our account, and we're going to change the address because James Financial has moved. So I'm going to click here my address, and I'm going to just change this to Main Street. We'll save that. And so now our address is 123 Main Street. So let's go back to our contact view. And we're going to quickly refresh here, and then you're going to see nothing's happened, which is perfectly fine. So you'll see James Financial, everybody still here is on 123 Lobos Street. But then you're going to see I have a column here that says use account address. So this is going to determine when I created this contact if I want their address to always match the account. In the ease of time, and this is what I'm going to suggest, is that if you want to utilize something like this, maybe have each of your salespeople do this maybe like on a weekly basis where they come into their active contacts. So there's not so much to work with. They can select all of them at one time, come up here to their ellipses, and click on Run Workflow. And I'm going to see this one workflow that I have created. I'm going to click on Add, click on OK, and then you will notice that when I refresh my screen, let's give it one more quick refresh. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to catch up depending on what my resources are doing here. So here, now we see my James Financial. We have 123 Lobo Street for Joe Turner because his account address should not match. And then we have 123 Main Street. So those two updated based on what I just did and running that workflow. So I know we're kind of getting low on time here, so let me just get back in here to the back end. And we're going to quickly create a workflow of our own and just kind of talk through how you create it. So you're going to, again, do that in processes, just like we did the business process flow. Couple of things to consider when you're building them out. Do you want them to run real time or in the background? So I'm actually going to start building this one out really quickly because I know that we're kind of low on time here. And then I'll explain to you what these different fields mean. So you're going to come here and for your category, it's going to be a workflow. And then again, just like the business process flow, you're going to choose which entity this is going to associate with. So we're going to do do the opportunity. So as I was mentioning, you can run it in the background, run it as real time. The default here, as you notice, is running it in the background. So when it runs in the background, this just means the process can take seconds, maybe up to a minute or a few minutes, depending on what the server overhead is. Again, that is the default and recommended one, but you can also run it. If you uncheck this, this would actually run it in real time, which means that process will run immediately. Do bear in mind that you want to be really careful about overdoing it with real-time workflows because it can be very, very taxing on your server, particularly if other processes are trying to run at the exact same time. So let's just click on OK, and we're going to start building this out and talking about some of these other fields. Some things to consider then. So what type of workflow it's going to be, when the workflow should start, what actions do you want this workflow to perform, and then under what conditions should those actions be performed. I'm just going to quickly tell you, I'm a big paper and pencil girl. I like drawing all my workflows out just because it makes it far easier for me visually to create them. But use whatever technique works best for you. So you're going to come here, and a lot of this information has defaulted for us based on the initial creation we just did. In this available to run section, it's going to default to whatever I initially chose. That's going to be reflected here. So I'm running it in the background. You can change it by coming up here and clicking on convert to real-time workflow. And then conversely, if I had it set to run real-time initially, this would have actually displayed now convert to a background workflow. Next up here we have as an on-demand process, which is what I demonstrated for you a moment ago, because there are some workflows that based on their activity in them, you cannot actually have the process run automatically. So you need to kind of give it a nudge, which is what the on-demand process is. And then lastly here you have as a child process. So this essentially just allows the workflow to start from another workflow. Your scope here, you can just choose who it applies to. I'm just going to set this at the organization level. And then when should it start? When the record is created or any of these other options. Do know if you click on record fields change, select will become active. And when you click on it, you can choose which fields that you are monitoring for. We're just going to do it on record creation. So the next thing you're going to come down here is just defining your conditions and your subsequent actions. And I'm just going to quickly build one out here for us. So in this description area here, this really has no bearing on how the workflow operates. It's basically just a note to yourself to know what you're doing. So it's kind of in layman's terms is the best way to say it. So let me just type in here some information. So I'm going to click over here to configure this. And we're actually just going to configure this as a quick little process. So I just wanted to time out until 5 days before the close date. So you can come over here and you see you have these dynamic values to work with. So I'm going to click on 5 days before and then opportunity, and then I'm going to come over here and do estimated close date. And you'll see that value is going to dynamically generate there for me. So save and close, and then you're going to define what action should be taken. So I want to create an email. So you come in here, click on create new message, and I recognize we're getting low on time. So I'm just going to run through this quick now. Here you can, again, also choose dynamic values to put in here to really personalize it. So here I'm just going to want to choose my account owner, click on add, and when I click on OK, that will dynamically show up there for me. Again, you can do the same thing here with your topic. So if I want to just pop the topic in there to make it easier for my user, I can do that as well. Again, you can personalize this in here, and again, you can use those dynamic fields and then type your message in here that you want to display for your users when they get this email. Another really great feature is you can actually include a hyperlink within the email, and this will allow your user to go directly to the record that they need to work with. To do that, you would simply come over here and click on this little insert hyperlink. And then again, another window will pop up. What text do you want to say? Display, I'm just going to say click me, and then my URL. And then so when my user gets this, they'll see dear so-and-so, whatever message I put in here, and then a hyperlink directly to this record. And that way they can easily get to it. So when you're done, you're just going to simply save it or save and close. And then when you're ready, you'll just activate it. And that will make it available to all of your users. So just a kind of a little wrap up here. So as I alluded to in the opening, Dynamics CRM is an incredibly powerful tool in and of itself. And with some well thought through action items, you can easily minimize end user frustration, reduce endless searching for information and data, and develop processes that gets everyone working synchronously. So just kind of as a wrap up to you, I just want to encourage you to be creative, look towards your end result, and laying out what it will take to get there. And then lastly, really placing your focus on what's going to most benefit your users, because that is who is really using the CRM at the end of the day. So in closing, if you want to learn more about WebSAN Solutions or the services we provide, please visit our site or reach out to us and send us an email. And I just want to thank you for joining me today. And now I will turn it back to Jason.
All right. Thanks so much, Stacy. Great job. And thanks to everyone in the audience. We have a few questions that have already come in, and we can start with those perhaps. But please do enter your questions as well in the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the slide area. So there were a couple of questions coming in just asking about the user interface that you were showing and whether it's Dynamics CRM 2015 versus 2013 based on just some of the UI elements like the little house button. It was 2015?
Yes, it sure was, Jason. And you know what? I'm guessing the reason that's being asked is WebSAN does on-prem, and so we actually haven't gotten CRM 2015 Update 1. So we're actually on CRM 2015, but we haven't gotten Update 1 yet because we're on-premise. So that's probably why some of the users in the audience might be seeing something that might look a little different to them, because they likely have, if they're using CRM online, then they would have already been privy to Update 1, which I believe came out like in May or June. So that's the difference.
Okay, great. And yeah, and I think that reflects the question that there are some slight differences.
Yeah.
A question about you mentioned using the Outlook client in relation to, I believe it was in relation to Excel export.
Yes. Yeah.
And someone asked why would they need to have the Outlook client installed? Don't they just have to be a user?
That's a really interesting question, and I actually Googled this because I couldn't quite, it's just the interface of, it's just a requirement. It's a requirement that you have to have CRM for Outlook installed to be able to access, it's kind of like you can't access CRM in Outlook if you don't have the Outlook client installed. So it all kind of works hand in hand with the Microsoft products. That's the best I can do for you. It's a requirement by basically within the software that the Outlook client has to be installed for your users to be able to access that file. And that only applies, again, when you're using a dynamic worksheet.
And do it in an authenticated way so that they're getting access to the right data. Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
All right. Just looking through the question list here. Exporting and choosing static or dynamic page options. Okay, so this is more of a point, I think, but exporting and choosing static/dynamic page option also works differently in 2015. Maybe that was just another element of the fact that you don't have update 1 and why that's functioning differently. Sorry, so let's move on to the next question. Okay. Sorry, the queue is a little bit disorganized here, but let's see if there's anything else. That appears to be it. We'll make a final call for questions here. And just to follow up on the Outlook question, I guess someone noted that it is needed to track emails. I guess that makes sense. And other Outlook items. But yeah, I think we are actually at the end of our question queue here. So why don't we start wrapping up? We have recorded today's event. It'll be available on demand quite soon. We'll send everyone a note when that is ready. Please do look for a survey on your way out today. We really do appreciate your feedback, both for us at MS Dynamics World, as well as our presenters always do like to get feedback from the audience about the presentations they have put together for you and for us. Stacy, thanks so much for joining us today. This was a great session, really educational. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us. We're really glad to be able to do a demo for you guys today. So thank you so much for letting us do that for you.
Excellent. And with that, we will conclude the event. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.